Hi, everyone. My name's Mark Rice. I work for Microsoft. I'm responsible for the services partner ecosystem around the world. And I'm really excited to be here today to be part of the Ingram Cloud Summit. This is the new reality for all of us. We're all working from home. I'm at home delivering this presentation. It's a reality I think we're all getting used to. So, first of all, I'd just like to say I hope that all of your family, your friends, and employees are safe during these very challenging times. I'd put a special thought out there for all of the people in the medical profession. I actually have a niece who works in the ICU unit in a hospital in the UK. And I think of her often in terms of how she's putting her life at risk every day for the sake and the health of other people. And so I put that thought out. I'm sure you do think of everybody that's in your lives that are in that medical profession. The world is definitely changing, and the impacts that COVID-19 is having on the business is reflected in an article The Economist recently put out in April that talks about how the companies that are going to see through this next phase are really going to have to become more agile in the way that they're thinking about their businesses. It's incredible the amount of the severity of the impact of COVID, the decline in the amount of commercial activity. In the article, it talks about 52% of the world's GDP. 52% of the world's GDP is now basically on lockdown. And so we're all experiencing the impact and the change that COVID is having on all of our businesses and especially on our customers' businesses around the world. When you think about the uncharted territory that we're experiencing right now, here's a recent survey done by Gartner, and some of the numbers here are really quite interesting. The amount of companies and the organizations that just weren't ready for the impact that they're experiencing right now here. 12% feel like they were ready. 67% of employees are employees that never have thought about working from home. I work with one company that have got about 3,000-ish employees that work in call centers, calling their customers, supporting their customers. And it took them about 3 to 4 weeks to transition that entire workforce to working from home and to being productive. During that time, they did see the impact on call center responses and how they were supporting their customers. And I'm sure you're dealing with your own customers that are going through that transition and trying to find out how to work properly in this new world and the security and compliance challenges that they experience. I think it was a fascinating point around how many companies now are moving to doing virtual interviews and the process of hiring new talent virtually. I mean, it seems a strange thing to have thought in the past, 5 months ago, thinking, hey, I'm going to hire somebody that I never actually meet, and I'm only ever going to meet them on camera or on a call. Who would have thought that would have been the case today? And so real change impacting every aspect of what we do. When you think about the business challenges that are taking place and the IT challenges, and I know many of you look after and manage small and medium-sized companies, and they're the ones that have been affected and impacted the most around the world. I mean, you can talk about the challenges they're experiencing, but that's if they've got any cash flow coming into the company. So many companies are just stopped and completely not in business anymore. And so again, a pretty challenging time for them. The ones that are in business are challenged with how to forecast, how to have insights on where their businesses are going, how to keep morale and employee motivated through these challenging times. I actually hired a couple of people from outside of Seattle just before COVID hit. Both individuals were single. They moved to the Seattle area, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and they're living on their own. They're in apartments. They've not really met their customers that they're dealing with. They've not really spent much time with their work colleagues, and they're in a place that's new to them, and they've been living in that way for the last 2 or 3 months. And so super challenging when you think about the employees, your customers, and how they're dealing with those situations. And sometimes you sit on these calls all day from 7 a.m. in the morning, hour after hour, week after week, dealing with different situations, sometimes it can feel surreal about the impact that's taking place. And you need stories or people to tell you about things that really bring it to home. I have an employee that works for me. His brother-in-law runs a chain of pubs and restaurants, bars in one of the states in the US. And 2 weeks into COVID, because of course completely impacted by people weren't allowed to go into those social environments, he had to let go of 423 employees overnight. I mean, how many business conditions have we seen over the past number of decades where overnight companies are just, having to let go of all of their employees? And it really is quite devastating to think about what's going on. And then you look to if and when and how and what timeline the economic recovery will take place. And here's just a slide that talks about some of the positive view of the outlook looking forward. And this is from Morgan Stanley. The chart on the left-hand side gives you a sense of the CIOs that were interviewed and how they're thinking about the IT spend over the next 3 years. And it's quite interesting, the majority, 90% of them, their outlook for the next 3 years is either stable or increasing spend on IT. So actually a quite positive outlook. Very difficult to predict the next 2 or 3 months, but when looking to that 2 or 3 year horizon, a positive outlook on the use of IT spend still and how it will impact their companies. And then what's interesting on the right-hand side gives you a sense of between February and March, how the respondents looked at the pace of adoption of public cloud and how between those 2 months as COVID hit, how their outlook for the acceleration of the adoption of public cloud just accelerated. And something you would probably expect if you think about how people are moving to remote working and applications are being virtualized and deployed, that you would expect. But here's a very positive sort of outlook around how public cloud is even going to accelerate even further. When you break down into it, these next two charts give you a sense of where some of that spend is taking place. The left-hand chart gives you a view of the areas of positive impact of COVID, where spend is taking place, and the negative side. On the positive side, it's what you would expect: remote working, collaboration, how network management, virtualization of applications, security software, and devices and laptops, etc., to enable that remote working. All areas of the business that are seeing a positive impact over the past couple of months and looking forward. And then the areas of where it's negatively being impacted is areas where you'd think there's just more potential risk, where the return on investment is probably further out. And when you think about how COVID is impacting the economy, everything's going to be driven far more by productivity and cost savings. You would expect some of those projects to be deferred, delayed, or even postponed. And so those in the area of artificial intelligence or machine learning, IoT, some of those projects are being negatively impacted. I'm sure many of you are experiencing some of that. On the right-hand side gives you a sense from the CIOs which vendors they believe will benefit from the impact and where the spend is taking place. We're fortunate in Microsoft, we're one of those vendors that see the benefit of this spend change. Hopefully many of you, as you work with us and work with Ingram, you'll see the benefit of this change too. I mean, that's one view of looking at the spend, but how can Ingram help you through these challenging times and as we look forward? And it's clear that you can look at it in multiple phases. There's a recent Deloitte article out talking about similar thing to the Economist article. They call out the adaptability of customers, the adaptability of companies will be a business imperative, something that all companies to survive through this process need to be able to adapt to the conditions that are being thrown at them, need to adapt to to develop more strengths based on the environments they're working in. We're looking at these sort of three phases respond. We're in that respond phase now, responding to what's going on, responding to the fact that people are working from home, responding to we're doing these events digitally and not in person. And then at some point, we will move into that recover phase. But a recover phase can be you're planning for the recovery. And then as you move forward from there, reimagining what business looks like, reimagining the growth opportunities based on what we've been through. Now, these are concurrent, different markets and different geographies will see different phases here in terms of timeline. But we definitely see this respond, recover, and imagine as a way to really take on this opportunity and really plan. When it comes to the respond and navigating now, I mean, it's clear. I mean, if you think about yourselves and everything you do, both work and at home, how this remote everything has just changed our lives. I mean, when you think about being working from home, just the fact that we're doing this event here, the Ingram Cloud Summit is digital. Microsoft's Inspire is going to be digital. Most of the companies in the industry are doing things digitally. We work from home, and it's difficult to separate home life from work life as we work remotely. And so it's a strange and a challenging thing. Even team events now, you don't do team offsites. Maybe you do team calls, and you have glasses of wine over a call at the end of a Friday afternoon. Being able to create that sense of connection, both with your employees and with your customers, and really being thoughtful and planned about it is critical in this remote everything and the way we're responding. Same with our home lives, the way we shop, the way we, curbside pickups for food, the way we are interacting. I have a daughter that unfortunately it's been unwell for a number of months. Fortunately, nothing to do with COVID, but it makes her a little bit more prone to the COVID situation, but she still needs to have medical attention. So, most of that is done online now with doctors. She actually had to have her blood taken, and so we parked outside of the doctors, and doctors came out and took her blood outside to minimize the impact of the environment that she might have to go into. So things are just very, very different, and will become, the norm will become very different as we move forward. And then when you look at it, the impact of this change and what's going on to Microsoft's numbers, we feel very proud about the progress that's taking place here. Over 40 plus million daily users of Teams around the world. So over double what was in place before COVID. Just an incredible acceleration of the use of Teams. 2.7 plus billion call-in minutes from within Teams. We see the explosion of Windows Virtual Desktop as more companies are looking to virtualize the desktops and how applications are delivered, and 3 times the usage there. And so just some incredible momentum across all of these areas. But I do have to just pause and say thank you. I mean, we Microsoft cannot deliver any of this without all of you, our channel and our partners. And every day you get to choose who you work with when you're working with your customers. And we're very fortunate and very proud that you choose to work with Microsoft. We do not take it for granted. And thank you for choosing us, and thank you for us. Thank you for helping us deliver some of these numbers. The focus is clearly on the customer and helping the customer move forward during this very difficult time. And that's where you lead into the recovery phase, the plan for how to move forward. And everything will, if people have been in the industry for a few decades and you've seen it through the dot-com bubble and the financial crisis, definitely as you come through those periods of time, the pivot clearly moves to the one of cost reduction and a focus on cost and value now, return on investments that are in months and not years. And so we clearly see that momentum will continue going forward now. And the focus on remote working will continue to strive forward. There'll be a focus on business continuity as people look to really in a fast way, deploy desktop and applications virtually. Hence the idea of Windows Virtual Desktop, which we think is and will continue to go through an explosive growth and a business opportunity for all of you. Enabling the safe and secure access to data and the identity and security solutions that Microsoft can offer in partnership with Ingram and to you, we see as a significant business opportunity. And then helping customers automate and how they gain insight from their businesses and from these new environments they work with, leveraging Power Apps will be a core play and a core opportunity going forward. So remote working, business continuity through Windows Virtual Desktop, the whole security space, and then driving more automation and the business process and insight through Power Apps, we think will be 4 core areas of business opportunity as we go through into the recovery phase here. And as we talked about, as I mentioned, the focus on cost and reduction of cost. There are many ways to look at it. The very macro in terms of moving from CapEx to OpEx associated with public cloud adoption, as per the CIOs, seeing an acceleration of public cloud adoption. Much of that is born about how to move from CapEx to OpEx. I talk with many companies that are thinking about in this time of when they're running public cloud, how they can optimize. And it's far easier to optimize when you're using the public cloud than when you've got your own on-premise and servers and applications. Very difficult to switch them off. You've still got them, they're still running, versus when you're running things in the cloud, a clear focus on cost and optimizing costs can be put in place. And so these were just some of the areas where costs can be managed from. Then you move into this reimagined phase, or shaping the new norm. And I think this will come after months of going through the recovery as some work practices move to what we've had before, but actually we're going to have many new different work practices. We've already seen some companies declare that they're not going to go back to the office. They will keep employees working from home. And so this reimagined phase will be really a fascinating thing to experience over the coming months and years. It still is for us all about how your customers are digitally transforming, how they are doing the things we just talked about from a security and virtualization perspective. And so this chart, even though it's busy, why I put it in here was it's just the breadth of things that you, our partners, do on behalf of the customers to help them digitally transform. That's just got such a power to it. The customer is at the center, and the services that you can deliver and the value add that you can deliver in making them a resilient business, in helping them transform, however big or small those companies are. Even the smallest companies need to do things differently and more digitally to survive and to become successful in the new world. And so my hope and wish and passion is working with Ingram and our partnership with Ingram on how to help you deliver as much of this rich value together to your customers. We feel very much in this together with Ingram and with you. Like I said, our success is based on the success of you. And I think in this very challenging time with customers going through hardships in this way, our partnerships and the ecosystem we've got really will be important. So I'll finish with one last slide here with Satya, our CEO. He's somebody that's incredibly focused on end customers and doing the right thing for customers, but balanced massively with how the value that he sees in the partner ecosystem and his investment in it. We do the things that are right for the customer, and we are making sure that our partner ecosystem is a healthy, vibrant one in supporting those customers. And so on that note, I really just wanted to say a huge thank you for paying attention, for staying till the end. And my last wish is that you all stay safe and well. Thank you.